Here are 5 words that headshot photographers should never ever say. I'll fix it in post. One of the biggest mistakes I made early on in my headshot business was using the dreaded phrase, I'll fix it in post. And today I'm going to give you a few reasons why I never say this to my clients anymore and why you shouldn't either. Number 1, most issues can be fixed in camera. So the most obvious reason why you shouldn't fix things in post is because most things can be fixed relatively quickly and easily during the photo shoot. For instance, it takes much less time to tell someone that their hair is out of place and correct the issue on site than it does to fill in hair gaps or delete endless amounts of stray hair after the fact in post. Similarly, it's much simpler to ask a client to remove earrings or a necklace that might not look good than it is to tell them, don't worry, I'll just delete it in Photoshop after the fact. There are other issues that can be fixed easily on site too, like shirt wrinkles, crooked ties, smudgy lipstick, and things like this, and it behooves you as the photographer to do as much of this in session as possible. And the fact is that the very best headshot photographers send their images to their editors that are 90% complete, and it's the editor's job to give it finishing touches, not to do heavy lifting in repairing mistakes that could have been easily avoided during the photo session. And this brings me to point number 2. Time is money. Every one of those little tweaks that you decided I'll just fix in post ultimately add up to a huge amount of wasted time, especially if you edit your own photos. And if you're fairly new to the headshot game, chances are you're doing all of your own editing and you don't have a photo editor. So removing jewelry, cleaning up endless clumps of stray hair, or fixing someone's crooked smile might seem easy and simple solutions during the shoot, but I guarantee you that the minute you sit down in the editing room, you are going to severely regret that you didn't fix it at the time, because it is so much easier to just do it during the session. In fact, every minute that you spend in front of your computer editing photos is a minute that you are not spending building your business. It's a minute you're not booking new clients, you're not updating your website, you're not updating your social media accounts, or on a larger level, it's time taken away from you being with your family. So remember that all of these little fixes really add up to a ton of your time in post-processing. Number 3, your mouth is writing checks that your butt might not be able to cash. When you tell a client that you can fix something in post, remember that the average person looks at Photoshop like it's some kind of magic bullet that can easily fix any perceived flaw in the human face. Now, any of us who have been photographers for a while realize that this is certainly not true. And even things that seem simple on the surface can actually end up being very difficult to do in post. So if you promise to fix something in post, you risk the client not being happy with the results that you provide. And I'll give you an example. Early on in my headshot business, I had a client who had a pretty significant eye difference. And although I did my best to pose them in a way to minimize the difference, it was still pretty noticeable. Now, I made the fatal mistake of telling this person that I would fix it in post as best as I could. But this statement means something completely different to you as a photographer than it does to your client. What the client actually heard was, don't worry, it will be perfect when I'm done editing it. And the truth is, you don't really know until you've got the photo in the editing room whether or not you can fix something properly, since each face and each setting is completely different and has a completely different set of variables. And this brings me to point number 4. Once you've said this, you've now opened the door to endless edits. So the minute you tell your client that things can be fixed in post, you've put the idea into their head that anything, no matter how minor or major, that they see in the photo and don't like, can be fixed, and that multiple revisions are just part of the process. The fact is that endless revisions should not be and are not part of a successful headshot photographer's workflow. Because as we know, some things take much longer to fix than other things. When I told my client that I could fix an eye difference in post, This led to multiple rounds of revisions and edits. And it was really completely my fault because I did not communicate clearly and mitigate expectations. In the client's mind, editing until they were 100% satisfied was part of the fee they paid me during the shoot. And because I was not clear, I couldn't really argue with them after the fact. Now, what I should have done and what I should have said was to tell my client that basic retouching is included. And in fact, this is what I do now. And this amounts to cleaning up edges of hair, doing a simple skin retouch, as well as other minor fixes like removing dust or small wrinkles from shirts. It does not, however, include moving eyes, fixing crooked ties, changing shirt colors, changing background colors, or anything else that is not typical basic cleanup work, since these services cost me time and money, and there's no reason why I should pick up the fee for this and not pass the fee on to the client if they request it. So what should you do instead? Well, the solution to the fix it in post problem begins with you becoming a better photographer. The more you know about lighting, posing, makeup, hair, clothing, and a host of other issues, the easier it becomes to fix things during the session and to do it with confidence and ease. But you can't do what you don't know, so the first step is to start learning by getting as many people in front of your camera as possible. Because each unique face and session becomes a massive learning experience, and the more faces you capture in front of your camera, the better you become. And you'll start to see a lot of these issues I've discussed today in real time. Now, if you really want to massively up your headshot photography skills in the shortest amount of time possible, I strongly recommend that you join Peter Hurley's Headshot Crew. Those of you who know me best know that I learned everything I know from Peter and that I am a proud associate member of the Headshot Crew. And for full disclosure, I want you to know that I'm not sponsored in any way by the Headshot Crew, but I do credit the massive success of my headshot business to Peter's teachings and to other mentors I've worked with in the crew. So again, I highly recommend you check out the crew, and if you have any questions about it, I'm happy to answer them for you. All right, well, that's all I have for you today, everyone. Thanks as always for watching. Don't forget to gently press that like button. You don't have to smash it. And if you appreciate my content, please subscribe to the channel. The more subs I get, the easier it becomes for me to continue investing more time in this channel and creating more content. And it also shows me that I'm doing something right, because if I wasn't, nobody would be subscribing. So help me out in my little corner of YouTube as I try to grow the page. All right, thanks so much, everyone. And here's to wishing you a great day with your camera. Go out and take some awesome pictures, everyone. And I will see you next time. Bye for now.